Metro on 1019 WDET-FM. I'm Tia Graham. For centuries, European archetypes have been the standards of beauty and desirability. Venus, the Roman name for the Greek goddess Aphrodite, is a shining example. She has been used as the prevailing image of love and sexuality. But what would it look like to completely reimagine Venus? Artist Cydney Camp unpacks and deconstructs Venus's image in her solo exhibition, Venus Undone. In this collection, Camp explores what beauty, intimacy, and autonomy look like through a different lens. The exhibition runs through December 6th at M Contemporary Gallery in Ferndale. And right now, joining us in studio is Cydney Camp herself. Hi, Cydney.
Hi, Tia. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So, Cydney, when did you begin developing the concept for Venus Undone? Why unpack beauty standards in this way?
Sure. So this body of work started to formulate earlier this year, actually. I would say around March or April. My work in general depicts Black, often femme subjects existing in these familiar yet alternative realities. And so I think of my exploration of the Venus figure as putting a finer point on that. It was all really inspired by reading Saidiya Hartman's essay, Venus in Two Acts, around that time, and thinking about all of the, the histories and the myths and, what is a myth, what is history, and who's telling it, right? And how all of that is related to the way that we think of the female form, even today.
And Cydney, what about Venus inspired you to take a different approach to the depiction of women and our bodies?
Sure. So I was thinking a lot about this idea of myth, right? The classical European Venus is an object of the male gaze, right? And so she has had a lot of things projected onto her. Similarly, the Black Venus figure is sort of an extension of that, and both figures have not always had the agency, right? In myth, in real life, and so just thinking about how to unpack that, right? And just create a new sort of world or experience where Black feminism is sort of the standard value for everyone that exists within it and interacts within it, and just creating this different experience.
Yes, and Cydney, I do want to talk about scale for a moment. One of the things, because I did get out and I saw the exhibition, and the thing that struck me instantly was scale. The size of the canvases that were on the wall and how they were pretty much uniform in size throughout. And I spoke with the owner and founder of M Contemporary, Melanie Chard. Asked her about your work and the scale of the paintings. And each painting is about the same size, but I really loved the way she described it.
With this work in particular, the artist found that she was just feeling really consistent with the small works, and they were coming a little bit more easily than trying to work on a larger scale. So she really just leaned into that and developed this entire series of 18 paintings, 8 by 10 inches, that depict women in nature or nature itself. And so they feel very atmospheric, but also like you're catching a glimpse of a little moment and you kind of want to get closer.
So I love the way that Melanie had described that, because that was one of the things that I took away from the exhibit as well. Some of your pieces was, it felt like a snapshot, just a quick little moment into a woman's a world at that time. So why did you decide to create multiple smaller scaled oil paintings versus larger canvases that would take up a whole wall that we would typically see?
Sure. There's a lot of reasons for that. I think the one that stands out to me the most is, as I was creating the works, I discovered that the intimacy of the subject matter was really reflected in this small scale, right? It really asks you to get closer. and you can pack so much into these tiny spaces. Just thinking about the way that paint moves and works, and what happens when you make a quote unquote accident at a small scale, right? How that can turn into a beautiful beginning for the next part of the piece in a different way than if I were to be working at a larger scale. I think larger scaled works are great. It's just not where I was at for this body of work. But I really enjoyed, as I was making the paintings and also just at the opening, seeing how people interacted with them. They tended to draw people in. People would come and stop and have a really long contemplative look, which I think sometimes with larger scaled works, you can see it across the room and you think you know everything about the painting. But these, you really have to get close. And even those details shift, right, as you change your physical perspective to it.
So very true. Just once again, walking through and seeing that they were just smaller and you had to get really close, like you said, and you're really, really looking at the detail and the fine work there of the artist's hand, which is you, Cydney Camp. And I think about just working as an artist today and some of the things that you've been able to accomplish. I know when we spoke, you honestly didn't begin your career not too long ago, actually. It's pretty recent you started to paint full time, but you are a self-taught artist, beginning your career in economic development. You studied political science at MSU, go green.
Go white.
And later graduated with an MFA from Cranbrook. So let's talk a little bit about how you found connections between your careers in order to lead you to where you are today, telling stories on canvases.
Great question. I think the defining thread between the two is my past corporate life really helped me to discover and develop a sense of professionalism that I still carry with me today. I was supporting a lot of small businesses in the city, working with a lot of designers in the city and helping them to build and sustain healthy practices for their work. And through that, it was like osmosis, right? Learning about what are the fundamental things you should do as a business owner, establishing your legal structure, having a bank account, having really tight accounting practices and, filing all the things that need to be filed every year. And that, I think, has set me up to be successful as an artist in that I'm pretty organized and I feel confident in managing my studio practice on my own,
which is huge for any working artist today, because a lot of the times you'll hear them say, a working artist today, I didn't know so much about the business side of it. I just wanted to create.
Totally. Being an artist is about so much more than the creative process or product, right? It's about how can I sustain myself while doing this? And I think we can always use more resources, more education around what that looks like in practice, because it is different for everybody.
And Cydney, you've been producing art since 2016. You began to get more involved with creating in 2020. And then in 2025, you're exhibiting solo shows. I mean, you're doing, larger shows. How have you been growing as an artist in Detroit? And what has the community been like for you?
The community here is amazing. Detroit has so many incredible, talented, kind people and artists, right? We're all quite supportive of each other. Once you sort of get into the network of, who's doing what, and you show up, and people are just so ready to share and receive each other. That's been great. We have so much opportunity for, just kind of finding a place to make, right? The studio market can be challenging at times, but I think compared to other major cities, maybe like in New York, right, where people don't have the luxury of space. So that's something that's really unique to us here. And just thinking about how I've developed as an artist, I felt very supported here always. I think that has been necessary to my trajectory as I learned more about paint and discovered what interested me and what resonated with people and what I wanted to explore. I was able to seek out resources and people and opportunities to help me grow and challenge me a little bit. And that's where Cranbrook came in, right? Those years were really formative. And I just feel really grateful that we have so much in this ecosystem, and that things are expanding, but they're also still quite accessible for you to plug in where you would like.
I love that you said that, because things are expanding, but there is a beautiful community here, arts community here, with so many talented artists from so many different disciplines. It's been amazing following along. This is The Metro. I'm Tia Graham. We're talking about an exhibition titled Venus Undone, on display at M Contemporary in Ferndale through Saturday. My guest is Detroit-based artist Cydney Camp. Now, Cydney, getting back to Venus Undone itself, when you were researching and viewing images depicting Venus, what were some of your thoughts surrounding the way this society made you view yourself?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. This is a conversation I've had with myself, long before this show, right? I think, honestly, because my work centers on exploring Black femininity. And I started painting in my early 20s at this really pivotal time in my life. It has helped me to explore my own femininity and define that. And I've learned things about myself through that. So it was not necessarily new things, but I was able to connect them to my practice in a new way. This was my first body of work where I feel like I really researched in a different way, right? And learning about how these historical narratives were established, right? And understanding more about why they're here, and being inspired to figure out what that means in a visual language. It's been a really interesting journey.
Just doing the work that I've been able to do and researching and speaking with so many artists in the city of Detroit, especially Black artists, seeing myself in more paintings or whatever it may be has been something that I've started to really notice and appreciate more than I did in the past. And just hearing the mindset that you're in when you're producing these works, and especially the 8x10 works that are on display right now with Venus Undone. I think about the research, and you talk about learning the history and going back and really digging in. Oftentimes when you learn history and you go back, it makes you a little angry. It makes you feel things, maybe not just anger, but sadness or fear, or even whatever it may be. How did you put that on a canvas? How do you put those emotions on a canvas as a healthy outlet?
Sure. For these paintings and my work in general, I really embrace this sort of in-between space, right? Where it's representational. You can tell that it's a Black woman. You can tell that this is a body in a landscape or a still life. But the way that I apply the paint is quite loose and abstract. And I enjoy finding these moments where things dissolve, resolve, build upon each other, or complicate each other, right? For these paintings, I found myself exploring a new creative process where I was working on something and it wasn't quite turning out the way that I had hoped, and just wiping it away and letting that dry and reapproaching it later, or sometimes even leaving it intact and just painting over it when it was dry. And I think those layers speak a lot to just the complexity of these histories, right? I think the dance between representation and abstraction speaks to the existence of what it means to be a Black woman. And when I say Black woman, I mean anyone who identifies as such, right? It's all about what you feel and how your life experience is playing out.
We have about 30 seconds or so, honestly, about a minute or so, but you gave me that homework. You told me to go. I did go to the exhibition. And
Thank
my
you.
2 favorite pieces that I was able to walk away with was Just a Girl, because I saw myself in Just a Girl. I mean, that's something that I see myself. I'm a lounger, so I do a lot of the lounging with the legs up. So love Just a Girl. And then Mother in the Garden. And that one stood out to me because it's creation of life is magical. It's a magical thing. And for menstruating women to hold life is an amazing thing. So, when we think about some of the works that you have on display, Mother in the Garden, for example, your thought process behind those type of paintings, but more importantly, Mother in a Garden, what were you thinking about?
Yeah. Well, the process of creation, right? That exactly. Thinking about just this sort of classical image of maybe a statue in a garden, which I think loosely speaks to the classical Venus idea, and bringing her to life as she brings new life into the world.
And actually, this is my last question. If this work is about constructing a new vision of femininity for yourself, how will that show up in your life going forward?
Oh, man, that's a great question. After completing these works, I already feel more grounded in who I am, in where I am in my practice, and confident in knowing that the journey going forward will be right for me, and that I'm in some control as much as I can be, but I feel good about riding that wave.
Yeah. Cydney Camp is a Detroit-based artist. She currently has an exhibition titled Venus Undone at M Contemporary in Ferndale. Venus Undone runs through December 6th. Cydney, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Thank you so much, Tia.
Coming up, one of the easiest things you can do to deal with the effects of climate change in your world is to plant a tree in your yard. But choosing the right kind of tree is not so easy. A new tree species guide rates them from beech to buckeye to help you put the right tree in the right place in 2026. You all stay right there. This is The Metro. We'll be right back.